We've watched this image over and over for the past week. On Monday, Fox 11 reporter Ed Laskos worked on a follow-up to the officer-involved shooting that happened the day before.
Brand new video now out. It shows the moments before the deadly police shooting. Look to the upper left. The homeless man gets out of his tent, walks around, and flips that orange tent over right out onto the street, injuring a man who was still inside. That brings paramedics and then LAPD. Officers talking to the homeless man. Then it appears the homeless man tries to get back inside his tent, and that leads to a struggle that turns violent. The homeless man, his arms, his feet swinging wildly. Officers take him down to the ground. The struggle ends there with deadly gunfire. The video comes from a security camera at the nearby Union Rescue Mission. The Reverend there calls this heartbreaking.
The problem really is more the environment than it is the LAPD or this gentleman. We really have to regionalize services throughout LA County and vanquish the terror that is Skid Row.
The Reverend Andy Bales is one of God's warriors in that battle. Dion Joseph is a warrior serving the cause of law and order.
Skid Row attracts two groups of individuals, right? Because of the programs here, it attracts those who need shelter and services they can't afford anywhere else. So this is where it's at, okay? But it also attracts the criminal element who's more than willing to prey on them because there's plenty of customers here. Ma'am, I apologize for bothering you. Got it? There's no sleeping on the sidewalk, okay? And also this building, that you can't be against this wall, okay? Yeah. You don't sleep on the sidewalks. It's dangerous out here. Here's the thing. Because he's not hurting anybody or hurting himself, legally I can't do anything to him. It's not a crime to run around swinging hands in the street, but I know when I leave here, somebody's gonna hurt that guy. These people wander the streets, run out of their medication, and who's here to medicate them? The Crips and the Bloods. And that's when they become a police problem. You know, it's being mentally ill is not a crime. It never has been. Being bipolar, being paranoid schizophrenic, not a crime. But when someone who's bipolar or manic depressant gets on methamphetamines or crack cocaine, even the greatest mental health clinician can't stop that because there's another factor in play, and that's the drugs. And that's what puts these people in constant danger.
Good Sunday morning, everybody. Today's our guests are Reverend Andy Bales and Officer Dion Joseph, who you saw in the video there. I will ask you both, and we'll start with you, Reverend. By the time this airs Sunday morning, it will have been a week since the man that was known on the street as Africa died. Has anything changed?
Well, nothing as far as living conditions and the deplorable conditions. None of that has changed. But I would say, surprisingly, amazingly, there has been a level of understanding that's risen, a level of sympathy for all sides that really is remarkable, you know. And it's been helped by Dion himself. I mean, Dion himself came to the prayer vigil and spent time with the people that were mourning and grieving. And I think it's folks like Dion and other reasonable voices that are making a huge difference, along with the protesters. The leaders of the protest guaranteed me it was going to be a peaceful protest. I'm proud of the response so far. I'm still hurting over the tragic incident, but I'm really proud of the response.
Officer Joseph, you're on the other side of the thin blue line. What's it like from your vantage point?
From our vantage point, I was surprised. I was worried with all the vitriol and the demagoguery on all sides. You know, I thought maybe we were going to have another months and months of Ferguson-type protest, and we've had a few. But in my walks in the community and talking to the people in Skid Row, they understand. You know, many of them don't like it. We don't like it. No officer wakes up in the morning and wants to kill a homeless person. I know the people involved. I can't talk about the incident. Right. They're good guys, patient guys. They want to be Skid Row's heroes. But sometimes we get placed in unfortunate situations, and I was just blessed by the fact that everywhere I walked, some people were coming to me, Joseph, we know what happened, we understand. And for those who didn't, we had healthy, calm debates about it. And once I was able to explain why this happens, why that happens, it pulls them closer to center, and then the light bulb comes on, and then they begin to understand, even though we may not agree. And I think that's a blessing and a testament to the wonderful people we serve in Skid Row for being so open-minded and understanding.
In the locker room there at Central Division, or when you're having your roll call meetings, have you sensed a change?
What I've sensed with the officers is what we've always done. I've been working in Los Angeles Police Department for 19 years, 17 years in Skid Row. And what I tell people, a lot of our detractors, is, look, I'm in the locker room with these men and women.
I'm in the lunchrooms, I'm in the shower area, weight room, I'm in the streets in the patrol cars with these men and women. None of us state, hey, let's go see how many people of a poor socioeconomic background we can harm today. We don't talk about that. You know, we do discuss our frustrations, we do discuss our fears, but then we put this badge and the gun on and we go out there and do the best we can, you know, to make a difference with a whole lot of challenges, a whole lot of handcuffs, you know, and it's a struggle, it's frustrating, but I'm encouraged when I talk to the officers. We're going to keep trying the best we can under the circumstances to keep people safe out there, regardless.
I wonder if Africa, is he going to become, or has he become, a martyr?
You know, I don't know. I don't know if he's a martyr, but it's certainly going to be.
Or is what happened to him going to teach a lesson?
Yeah,
to other people?
absolutely. What has happened to Africa is going to teach a lesson to all of us, to the police, to the city, to the county. I hope it sends a message to all of us that we can no longer send our troubled people, our people who are experiencing homelessness, the people experiencing mental illness to live and die on the streets of Skid Row. I hope it wakes us up. We can no longer send folks to Skid Row to live a life of the survival of the fittest and then ask the LAPD to manage an impossible situation. Mm-hmm. And I hope it causes us, and I really, truly want to help make this happen, that we regionalize services throughout LA County, and we do vanquish the terror that we have created on Skid Row. It's not enough to say, oh, years back we had this policy of corralling and containment, and we admit it. Well, it's not just enough to admit it. It's time to reverse that movement, and it's time to reverse and take care of our Angelenos who are experiencing homelessness.
On our end, we hated that this was the catalyst for serious discussion. What people don't understand is our department, not just me, there are dozens of officers who have emotionally just expressed the danger of these people, and not even for our sake. We're police officers. We know that when we go out there, our job is to deal with the aftermath of society's failures, you know. But for the people that we come in contact, there are people, and I'm gonna be honest with you, who I considered friends, who I had to send to prison, you know. A pair of handcuffs is what they gave me to help somebody struggling with mental illness, because our laws, as it relates to the mentally ill, forces us, the fire department, mental health clinicians, to become an after-the-fact entity. As you know, we cannot, quote-unquote, help somebody unless they fall under 3 categories, and that's whether they're a danger to themselves. And in Skid Row, they're constantly a danger to themselves. Mm-hmm. There's danger to others. And they're constantly a danger to others. Many times they give us the indicators, but because they don't say the magic words of I don't want to kill, I want to kill myself, or I want to hurt somebody else, we can't do anything. But we know, I know somebody, I'll pass by and say in 5 minutes that guy's going to be a police report as a victim or a suspect. We even have a young lady who was involved in dozens. He was a named suspect. She was a named suspect in multiple felony police reports. And she was also the named victim in multiple felony police. That to me says that's someone who meets the criteria, but to our justice system and our laws, unfortunately, they say no. And lastly, the third prong where we can force somebody into help is when they become gravely disabled to a point to where they can't take care of themselves. I saw a man who, when he first came to Skid Row, was 275 pounds, 6'4", and when he had cancer. As he was using crack and debilitating, I saw him 2 years later. He was laying on the sidewalk. He was 6'4", 87 pounds. And he was dying. I thought he was dead. And when I put my hand on his wrist to check his pulse, I looked up and I felt something crawling on my hands. There were maggots. Okay, and I'm a visual guy, I'm sorry. People have to know what happened. There were hundreds of people around, a camera crew, some of our detractors across the street. No one called the police for this man. And he didn't want to go to the hospital. That's when he was near death, was when I was allowed to get him to a hospital. And that is morally wrong. We understand from a legal standpoint, but from a moral standpoint, as a nation and as a state, as a county and a city, we got to do better. We must for them.
Well, Reverend Bales, you're talking about regionalizing. You've got an area which seems to be a magnet to draw everyone there. How do we make this all work in a way that helps the people who end up there and helps us to feel better about the place we live in?
Decentralization.
I think, first of all, we've got to realize that no one is from Skid Row. Everybody that's on Skid Row was sent there from somewhere else.
I beg to differ. There are children who are born
There are
there.
children who are born there because
From
their
people who-
parents were
right,
sent.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely right. And, you know, if we could just get LA to have a change of heart and say, we are going to, wherever we are, what neighborhood we live in, what city, what region, wherever we are, we're going to take care of our own neighbors, our own brothers and sisters who are struggling, and we are going to take care of them in our own city. We're not going to send them to the mean streets of Skid Row to die. That it's just going to be a heart change. And then with that heart change, we'll have the courage to overcome the obstacles of not in my backyard.
We need to take a break, but let me say, we have all seen instances, whether it's a hospital or it's other entities, that literally put their people, they're less than desirable people. They put them onto some sort of a vehicle which heads for 5th and Main, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's to me, that's a moral crime. We're getting them from Las Vegas. They were involved in some one-way therapy. That's what they call it. 200 people.
Greyhound therapy.
And then we have, I talked to some people from San Diego. We talked to some people from up north. Even as far as the South and New York and Florida. That's where we're getting them. And, you know, and just to touch on what Andy said, is we need decentralization desperately. There are 88 cities in LA County, okay? To me, if we could just have 8, 10, put a shelter or low-income supportive housing in their area to take the pressure off of Skid Row. Not only would Skid Row become a true place of rehabilitation for people who choose to stay, but for the individuals who want to leave to go to a better environment, they would have a place to rehabilitate and have a chance, like your favorite celebrity. Think of your favorite celebrity, not mentioning any names. When they end up getting high and they need to come off the wagon, get back on the wagon, where do they go? The Betty Ford Clinic, Malibu, Passages, horses running around. It's great. The people of Skid Row, because they're disenfranchised, don't have that luxury. And they say, get better here so we don't have to deal with you. And it makes Skid Row a concentration camp without walls, but it also makes the real heroes' jobs, Andy Bales of the world, the Herb Smiths, the Larry Atkinsons, the SROs, it makes their job harder because it's congested and it just mixes the bad with the good, and the good sometimes have to do bad just to survive.
We need to take that break. We'll do that now. Stay with us, please. We'll be back in about 2 minutes.